everybody, it's Nina. Thanks for joining me today for a new tutorial, and I'm going to be featuring some Altenew products that I really wanted to use and create a really cool layered stenciled background. Stencils are one of my favorite products to use, and this one here is the layered dahlia stencil. There are two pieces that you can layer together to create some really intense detail on these beautiful flowers. So I'm going to layer these onto some mermaid cardstock. It's one of my most favorite cardstock colors. And I'm going to do a bit of ink blending with my Distress Oxide Inks. So I'm taking the Oxide Inks and I've already taped my stencil down onto my cardstock, and I'm going to start blending on some of these colors. I started off with peacock feathers first, and I did an entire layer with that first layer of the stencil onto the paper. That creates this really cool negative effect. And we're going to intensify this now a bit more by taking the second layer, applying this over top, and bringing in some Faded Jeans Oxide ink. Now bear in mind, I am actually using these stencils in reverse of the order that you actually would want to use them. Technically, you'd want to use this first layer that I'm working with right now. You would want this to be your first layer, and you would want to use your lightest ink with this. However, I wanted to see what would happen if I used it the opposite direction, and if I used the first layer with the darkest color of ink and used the second layer with the lightest color. What happens is the oxide inks react together really interestingly, and it creates a really stunning effect. I was really pleased with how it turned out, and I really loved it. So I'm applying that Faded Jeans ink over top of that peacock feathers. To intensify that ghosted effect even more, I brought back in that other stencil and I reapplied it over top of the oxide inked areas. And this time again using the peacock feathers, because again this is the layer that I had used the peacock feathers with. And I intensified that ghosted effect just a little bit. Didn't need much ink, and it really just pops right off of the background. Okay, so now after I've done that, I'm going to bring in some shimmer spritz here, and I'm going to spray this panel really heavily with that spray ink. This is reactivating the oxide ink. It's creating a really cool textured background. After I've let that dry, I brought in that first layer of the stencil, the outline, and I'm going to run this through my Platinum 6 machine with an embossing mat and also an embossing plate. And that's going to deboss that stencil design into the paper. Now originally I was planning on having this be the full card and having this almost be a one layer card, but I ended up changing my mind, and here's where I did that. I decided I wanted this to be a panel, so I tore the edges of this paper. It was a little bit tricky because this mermaid cardstock is pretty thick, but once I got the paper torn, then I had this really cool outline around it, and I added a little bit of ink on there to darken up the edges. Then I brought in some black spray ink and I flicked on some splatters. I was really going crazy with this. I was trying out different techniques and trying out what kinds of things I would want to put on here and really just playing around. Afterwards, I brought in the Thinking of You script die from Altenew. It's a newer script die. And I layered a few of these together. This is white cardstock. I layered a few of those together. And then I layered the few white pieces on top of a single piece of black glitter cardstock. And after I layered these together, we have this really cool drop shadow that has a sparkle to it. It's really pretty. I adhered the full sentiment down onto my card using some liquid adhesive. After that was adhered, I felt like I needed another sentiment to finish this off. So I brought in the Crafty Friends stamp set. This is the older Crafty Friends set. And I'm going to ink up one of the sentiments here with some clear embossing ink from Simon Says Stamp onto a piece of blue cardstock. I'll stamp that down and heat emboss it with silver embossing powder from Brutus Monroe. The embossing powders from Brutus Monroe capture super fine details like this sentiment here so perfectly. I really love the Brutus Monroe embossing powders, and I would encourage you to check them out because they are some of my favorites. That and Simon Says Stamp embossing powders are the ones I reach for all the time. I popped this banner up off of my card using some foam tape, and then I brought in some sparkling clear sequins from Pretty Pink Posh. Now I love adding some Nouveau drop details on top of sequins. It's something I love doing. And this particular Nouveau drop is Glitter White Blizzard. It's so pretty, and it dries in a clear dimensional glittery finish, and it looks so cool against this glittery background where we've got all this beautiful shimmer and sparkle. This is a total sparkle party on a card. I hope that you have enjoyed this tutorial featuring some fun Altenew products and that you got inspired to try out some of these fun techniques. If you enjoyed, here are 2 more videos that you might like featuring some other stenciling ideas. Thanks so much for tuning in. I will be back again very soon with another video, and until then, have a great day. Bye!